Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have two new makeup products that I just picked up from Sephora that we are going to try out together today. I have a small eyeshadow palette and a new blush. And I'll give you a little spoiler, I'm already pretty impressed with both of these. So we are going to try them out together today. Of course, I'll insert some swatches for you guys and give you my final thoughts on whether these were worth their high-end price. But before we do that, if you are new here, welcome to my channel. I hope that you enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you give it a thumbs up and that you are subscribed before you leave and your notifications are turned on. With that said, let's get right into it. All right guys, so let's get started. I do already have some of my makeup on. Basically my primer, my foundation, and my concealer and my brows are done. I will link everything that I'm wearing down below. So let me just go over really quickly what I picked up from Sephora. So I got the new Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt palette. I have a feeling this palette's going to be kind of boring, but I'm curious to see how the formulas of this compare to the Makeup by Mario Neutrals palette that I don't love, but I do use it a lot, and it is a really good matte palette if you're into just all mattes. I also picked up a new shade of the House Labs powder blush. I'm curious to see how this shade compares to French Rosette, which I already own and love. Why don't we do the eyes last? I want to finish my face. I need to put some bronzer on, and then we'll try out the blush, then add a little bit of highlighter. Then we'll jump over to the eyeshadow palette. So as I mentioned, I picked up a new shade. This is Hibiscus Haze. I hope that it's different enough from French Rosette. I do love French Rosette. It's kind of it's a warm kind of rusty pink, which I feel like is a good, if you're gonna get one shade, those are the kind of shades that I feel like walk that line between something kind of corally and something pink, kind of like a go with anything sort of shade. This one I'm anticipating to be a lot more pink toned. So here it is. Again, this is Hibiscus Haze, and then let's just have a visual comparison to French Rosette. So as you can see, this one does have quite a bit more warmth and kind of orange in it. Almost like a rusty sort of color. I love the vibrancy of these blushes. I still need to pick up one of the Buttermelt blushes from NYX because I have a feeling that these are kind of going to be similar. I've heard those are also very pigmented. I don't know that for sure, but I need to try one of those out and see if there may be a good drugstore alternative to these because these are a little pricey. $32. I'll insert a close-up for you guys right here of this blush, and I'll also insert a close-up of this swatched next to French Rosette so you can see how the two shades compare. But before we try that out, I need to add some bronzer to my face. I picked out my Merit cream bronzer in clay today. I haven't used this for a little while. I do love this bronzer. It's a really good shade if you have fair or light skin, and we're going to apply that today with my e.l.f. Buffing Foundation brush, which I really love for cream bronzer. It's kind of large, but because it's kind of pointed at the end, it works really good for a cream kind of sculpting or bronzer. Oh, this is such a good bronzer. I forgot about this one. It's nice and warm, but it also does a good job at like shaping your face. Really good, easy to blend formula. Okay, so now let's jump over to the House Labs in Hibiscus Haze. So this blush, I actually like applying this one with a larger, very loose, kind of fluffy brush like this. I love this brush. I've had it forever. I don't even know if Real Technique still makes this blush brush. If they do, it doesn't look like this anymore, but it is still, I keep going back to this blush brush because it's the perfect blush brush that works with any blush, no matter how pigmented. So we're gonna apply some just to the tip and just tap that kind of right over the top of where I put that bronzer, a little bit higher. Yeah, this one's definitely more pink. We're gonna go a little heavy with this. I know that looks like a little much, but I'm gonna go back and kind of take I usually do this with a sponge, but because I didn't really use a sponge, I used brushes for everything on my face today, my concealer and my foundation. I'm gonna go back to my foundation brush, which is the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending, and I'm just gonna tap this around the edges of where I applied that blush. There's really not much left on here, but there might be just like a trace of foundation left on here that's gonna help to kind of blur the lines and blend that out so it doesn't look so intense. There we go. See? Now it's perfect. Okay, let's add some highlighter. This highlighter I pulled out recently and was just, I've been in awe of this highlighter. It's so, so good. And I don't know that they make it anymore. If they do, I will link it down below for you guys. This is from Jaclyn Cosmetics. This is her highlighter in Iced. You guys, this is such a gorgeous highlighter. It's very intense, but it's the perfect formula that's very intense, but not glittery or like texture emphasizing. And more than anything, it's just the right shade. For me, it's a really nice light champagne that's not so icy that it looks crazy on me or looks like blue based. It's a beautiful color. It actually kind of reminds me of Ozone from Nabla. I know a lot of you guys love that highlighter as well, which is also amazing. It's very similar to that one. As you can see, it's, I mean, not for the faint of heart, but very pretty. I am thinking that we're gonna go all matte on the eyes today because I'm really gonna force myself not to put an actual like glitter or shimmer on my lid, but I might put just a touch of this on my inner corner. I'm kind of anticipating this palette to not, I don't know. It's not that I'm not excited to try it, but it's kind of a very functional and sort of boring looking palette. I'll be honest, when I open up a palette and look inside, my eyes are always drawn towards the shimmer shade. So whenever I see a matte palette that's just full of the basics, as much as I use those shades, they're not the kind of shades that get me like excited. So as you can see, we are nice and glowy now. Let's move on to the eyeshadow palette. So again, this is the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt palette. I will insert a close-up for you guys right here, along with the swatches. This is, as I'm sure you know, because it's been out for about a month or so now. It is an all matte palette. It's basically filled with your basics. So the first thing that I'm noticing, the tones in this seem really lovely. They don't look cool or warm. They're just really nice and neutral. And then I'm also noticing this matte ivory right here. It will probably work good for me if you have extremely fair skin. It's a very yellow based matte. Again, I haven't even swatched this yet. I know you guys just saw the swatches, but I haven't touched these shadows yet. But just looking at it in the pan, I know I've seen mattes from Natasha that have looked a little brighter and lighter than this one. So I'm curious to see how it goes on my light medium skin. I did just put on some self tanner yesterday, so I'm kind of light medium today. Normally I'd be like a light skin tone. But I do love that this palette has all your essentials. You get a light transition shade, a little bit of a darker transition shade. So whether you have very fair skin or more like medium toned or deep skin, you're gonna get a good option here in this range right here. And then you have a dark brown or a black, which you could even combine those two together depending on what you like in your outer corner. So I feel like this is a really good, just based on looking at it again, it's a good range in here basically is what I'm trying to say. But let's go ahead and try it before I rave about it or get myself excited or disappointed. We're gonna start with this lighter transition shade. We're gonna use my Alter Ego brushes that are dupes for the Angie Han Flashy brushes today. I'm gonna start with the largest blending brush, and I'm gonna really build up that color in my brush and just run that, hang on. Before I do that, let me just take a clean brush, and I do have a little bit of concealer creasing, just kind of buff that out. Okay, now we're gonna take that first shade, this one right here. Oh, this is very nice. The names are actually really nice and easy too. You've got fair, light, medium, deep, and black. Oh, that's so nice. Actually makes it really easy. That's beautiful. I mean, it's barely showing up on me, but it is showing up just enough. It has almost a very like beigey tone to it. It's like a warm gray. It's like a color I would paint in the walls in my house. I've seen these videos. I don't know if I've ever watched one to completion, but I've seen these videos popping up mostly on YouTube about kind of the anti all neutrals and beige as just like a parenting standpoint. Like if you have children, you should not just decorate everything in white and gray. And I couldn't help but feel a little guilty because that is totally me. I am like everything is beige and grayish and neutral in my house. I have a fear of decorating with anything too colored or patterned. I don't know why. I just thought of that looking at this color. This is gorgeous though. I absolutely love. I'm already more excited about this than I was about the Makeup by Mario one. It might have something to do with the fact that this was $27 and not what, $55 like that Makeup by Mario one. That palette maybe gets a little harsh judgment from me because of its price tag. Okay, we're going with the one in the middle. What was this, medium? On a little bit of a smaller blending brush, this we're gonna take right through the socket. Ooh, nice and pigmented. I probably fudged that little, I'm gonna blend that out right there. I didn't wanna go in that far, that low on that inner corner. There we go. I have to say, what's gonna make or break this palette is how this ivory performs. If it's nice and bright and pigmented, I'm surprised at how deep that medium shade is. I mean, it's beautiful, but if you want something between the depths of those two, you might want to combine those two shades together because that's darker than I was initially thinking it might be. Okay, so far so good, guys. This is actually going really well so far. Very basic, but very, very pretty. Okay, we're gonna take, with that same, actually let's use a smaller blending brush. This is the tiniest blending brush in that set. I'm gonna take a combination of those two shades we used so far. The light, right, fair light, light and medium. I thought that would make it easier, but I'm still having a hard time remembering what those shades are called. For an everyday look, I would totally just stop there, add a little bit of highlighter or shimmer to my lid. That's beautiful. But we do need to try all of the shades in here today. So I'm going to take just a little bit of this. Actually, before I take the dark brown and the black, I think I am gonna add a little bit of the dark brown just to this outer V and then use the black as like a smudgy liner. But before I do that, I do wanna try out this ivory. This I'm gonna do with my finger. So I read a couple of reviews about this palette and one of the reviews I read, I didn't get too deep into the reviews, but one person did say that they thought the lighter shades were a little weak or chalky. I definitely don't feel that way. This is pretty pigmented. That's pretty impactful. In fact, I feel like I just covered up all that work I did underneath. Let's kind of feather that back. Pretty. Have to say, so far so good. I love a good matte ivory that has a touch of yellow in it, which this one does, because it does counter if you have some like dark circles or like those dark kind of pockets right here in your eye. You want to brighten up your eye. The subtle yellow will brighten up and counter that blue rather than just like a white on its own that can look a little bit too cool on your eyes. This is a good color for that. Really nice and pigmented. Okay, gosh, I'm gonna go back to this first shade that I used. Just feel like that's looking a little stark. I'm gonna kind of just go back around the edges of that ivory I just put down to kind of soften it a little bit. One thing I'm noticing just with what I've used so far, now this one does look a little bit warmer to me, but these are definitely neutral tones, leaning a little bit on the cool side of the, if we're doing a scale from warm to cool, they kind of lean over in that cool direction just a little bit. Now let's take that smallest blending brush that I used and dip into the brown, the dark brown. By the way, these are all the same formula. They're all just her matte formula, traditional matte formula. That is one thing that I might have liked to see is like is it slip matte, cream to powder? I can't remember what she calls it now. I think she's kind of changed the name or added a different formula. They're slightly different, but I like them both. Okay, just about done. I do want to use that black. Normally I would just stop here, maybe add a little bit of my Sima Brown now to it, but I do want to try out this black. So we're going to use this little brush right here, which is kind of it's from Persona. This is the line brush. I'm going to get it just on the tip of this brush. And basically we're just going to do a little smudgy wing just on this outer corner. I don't use matte black super often, but if I am using a matte black, I want it to be so rich that when I start to blend it or smudge it, it doesn't turn like a blue tone, like a charcoaly blue. This one seems to be really holding on to its inky dark color, which I love, a good black. Okay, that is the finished matte look using just the palette. As I mentioned, I do want to add just a tiny bit of shimmer to my inner corner because I just can't help myself. So we're just going to go back into that highlighter that I used, and I'm going to take the 202 brush from Alter Ego, which is kind of like a flat pointed brush, and just pop a little bit of my highlighter just right on that inner corner. Don't even need to add liner. I'm just gonna jump right into mascara. I will do that off camera. I'm gonna add a couple of coats of my Maybelline Sky High mascara. Then I'll come back, we'll finish off with the lips, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts. Okay, and here are the finished eyes, complete with mascara. Very happy with this so far. Maybe it's good to go in with low expectations. I would say if I could go back and send back that Makeup by Mario one, I would go with this one instead for sure. I know the Mario palette, it seems like you're getting a lot of variety, but so many of those shades are basically just the tiniest, slightly different variation of each other, that unless you just need that many neutrals, like you're worried you would burn through this one really fast, I would just go with this one. It's travel friendly, it's cheaper, you don't get as much, but I am okay with that. So big win so far, very happy with it. Now let's move on to the lips. I don't have anything new today. We're just gonna do a very basic nude lip today. I wanna take my MAC Subculture pencil. This is a very light, pinky beigey nude lip pencil. Let me wipe off the lip balm I put on a while ago. These pencils work better when your lips are dry, by the way. Especially if you want your lip liner to last longer, I always recommend making sure your lips don't have any gloss or balm on them, because it'll keep the pencil from like really soaking into your lips. All right, I fill those pretty much all the way in, and then we're gonna go in with a bit of my e.l.f. Pout Clout Lip Plumping Pen in Pinky Out. Yes, Pinky Out. Basically like a nude peachy pink. One more thing, let's do a bit of setting spray. Can you guys see how much of this I've used? This setting spray is really good. The mister is like the best. I mean, it's kind of hard to press. I think I've said this before, probably a couple of times, but it's so fine. And I think that's partly why I'm going through it so fast, because I basically will do like 10 sprays of this, which you probably don't need, but sometimes once you start misting, you just can't stop. And there we have it, guys. This is the finished makeup look today. Very happy with this one. I have to say, big win. This palette is definitely a big win. If you like your neutrals, if you like all mattes, these are perfect shades from light to dark. I just feel like this is a very well curated matte palette, especially because there are so few shades in it. You basically just get everything that you would need to create any sort of gradient from light to dark or just everyday or smoky. You basically take this in any direction you want it to go. And then I just think it'd be all the better with a shimmer popped on the lid. So definitely a win. I highly recommend this one above the Makeup by Mario one, because I just think that one's a little expensive, more than what you would need if you're just looking for the basics. This is going to work just fine. As for the blush, I really like the blush. It definitely is more pink than the French Rosette. Honestly, I don't know which one I like better. I've kind of been in a mode lately of these kind of rustier shades, so I don't know, maybe it's just not really matching my lip today. I should have gone more pink on the lip. I feel like there's some sort of disconnect, but I don't think it's necessarily that I don't like it. Formula wise, I think it's great. If you're into more pink toned, kind of cooler pinks, I would go with this one. If you like warmer blushes that are a little bit more corally or rusty, I would go with French Rosette. Honestly, I like them both, but you probably don't need them both, especially at $32 a piece. I would just go with the one that kind of suits your taste a little better, warmer or cool. That is everything for today. Hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what new makeup you guys are really interested in. Again, I'm probably not gonna go hog wild this year. I didn't really last year either. I was looking at just all the new makeup that I bought, and I definitely kind of scale things back a little bit. I imagine I'll kind of do the same thing this year, but if there's anything that you guys are just wild about or dying to see me try, or that you thought was really like revolutionary, let me know. But I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.